Well guys, this is it. After 54 hours, I have finally finished the main quest of Starfield. I'm just starting a new Game Plus game right now and still having a blast, but I understand that not everybody is enjoying Starfield as much as I do. In fact, there is quite a little bit of negativity around the title, and so in this video I wanted to have a look at what people are saying about Starfield when they are negative about the game. So I'm going to break down those points into three different categories: those that are correct, those that are plainly wrong, and sometimes they are quite wrong indeed, and also those that are subjective, meaning that depending on your personality, depending on your point of view, those can be indeed negative things about the game, or they can be positive, or they can just be okay, whatever your opinion might be about it. Okay, this is something that I've said quite a bit about Starfield. Yes, it doesn't look as good as some of the other games that are out there, space-themed games. I'm thinking about Star Citizen, even Elite Dangerous, some No Man's Sky to some extent do look a little bit better than Starfield. It does feel like it is built on an engine that was built a long time ago for other Bethesda game that they decided to reuse for this game here, in this case Starfield. So I think that those who do say that the game looks, I wouldn't say ugly, because at times it does look stunning or gorgeous indeed, but more often than others it does look indeed quite dated compared to what's out there in the market. So I think that those people here who say that Starfield doesn't look so good do have a point indeed. Alright, so here we are going to talk about the progression in the game. I've heard people saying that you need to get some special skills in order to complete some quests, otherwise you would be stuck. This is absolutely wrong. In fact, you don't need any skills to complete the quest. Sure, with those skills it will be easier. Maybe you'll get access to some shortcuts, maybe you get access to some rare weapons that you would have missed otherwise, but you can also complete those quests by doing it the hard way, killing all the enemies, taking the scenic route, which was actually designed for players to explore and to discover. So I think that anyone here who says that you are locked behind a skill tree is someone who just didn't pay enough attention and did not spend the time to discover the game. It's extremely shameful if we're talking about very large YouTubers here with over 300,000 people who subscribe to them. Next, I would like to address the fact that people are saying that the planets are boring, that there is nothing to do on these planets, and here I'm sorry, I'm going to absolutely disagree. There are plenty of things to do on the planets of Starfield. Yeah, there's 1,000 planets. Yeah, some of them do look like the other planets, especially the barren ones. That's true, but nevertheless, you have lots of outposts to explore with enemies to kill, loot to find, rare weapons to find as well, random encounters. You can scan the local wildlife whenever there is wildlife, or scan the local resources, build outposts, build your own little outpost empire on those planets, defend yourself against intruders, or just look at the local wildlife that's just doing their own things. They're attacking other animals or protecting their territory or just gazing under the sun. It's wonderful to look like. I never got bored. It's actually a rare case here. Normally I don't like exploration type of gameplay in these kind of games, like Star Citizen, Elite Dangerous. I find that utterly boring. It's one of those rare cases where I actually enjoy doing this in Starfield. So if you think that Starfield planets are boring, please take a look at least at what the other games are doing, similar games, and you are going to think that actually they're not that bad at all. So I'm going to disagree here. Yeah, talking about pronouns. Now, it's gonna be a tough one here because I come from a culture where we don't have this pronoun thing. Where I'm from, I don't come from an English-speaking world, so where I'm from, we don't introduce ourselves. Well, oh, my name is Irad and my pronouns are he and him. We don't do that. So this whole fashion of identifying oneself with pronouns is something that's very foreign to me. I got a bit annoyed that this foreign culture was forced to me at the beginning of the game, but it's not really something that I found painful. It's just at the beginning, you just click on him here, that's it, you get over with. It's not something that you get bothered with in the rest of the game. You don't see any of that in the rest of the game, so it's really something that you're going to see only at the beginning for a few seconds, you click on that, boom, you're done, and then you'll forget about it. At least this has been my experience in Starfield. I have not encountered anything else related to this whole pronoun thing, which really does not impact the game at all. So I'll call it subjective here. If this is something that offends you, then I guess that's going to be a problem, right? But if you don't really care about that, then you are going to forget about it very quickly. Alright, next we're going to talk about loading screens. Yes, there are indeed loading screens, a lot of loading screens in Starfield, but I think that how these loading screens are going to impact the game greatly depends on your computer itself. As far as I'm concerned, I have two computers. I have one that's 3 years old, and I have a recent one. The older one is equipped with 16 gigabytes of RAM, and it has also a GTX 2070, whereas the new one has 32 gigabytes of RAM with an RTX 3070. And with the other ones, I have longer loading screens, so when I try the game on that one, yes, it does feel a little bit painful, but with my higher tier PC, sometimes the loading screens are even less than half a second. They're very, very short, and you barely notice that they are here. So I suppose that it's quite subjective, but at the same time, they do exist. But if you have a higher end PC, like Todd Howard told us, right, to upgrade your PC, if you do so, then that's really something that's not going to impact your game. So that really depends on the kind of machine that you are using to play the game. The next one is a really interesting one here. It's a review on Steam here, and it's negative because they say here, the person who reviews this says that the economy seems out of whack. To buy a new ship, you need a lot of credits, but if you have a ship to sell, forget it. It's not even worth taking it and flying back to sell it. After registering it, you make very little. It's a spacecraft, yet it has still very little value. I often make more money by killing pirates and taking their spacesuits and weapons. Now that's very interesting here. It's just one example here when it comes to the economy, or should I say maybe the non-economy of Starfield, and that's perhaps one of my biggest regret here when it comes to the game, is that there is indeed no dynamic economy. Seems like the prices are always fixed. They never seem to change, only perhaps if you have some commercial skills in your skill tree, but that's basically it. They don't really change based on, for example, the supply and demand. None of that is existing, and it makes the game way too predictable, I think, when you are into more of an economy type of gameplay. And also, I think that it makes the game feels fake also, because there just doesn't seem to be any impact on whatever NPCs are doing. They just seem to be on rail. They're not really having an existence inside the game, having an impact on the economy, on the game world, and perhaps that's what he's meaning here. So that's definitely a negative here, in my opinion. The next one is also an interesting one. I made a poll in my community tab asking if you guys are playing Starfield, if you're not playing Starfield, if you bought it, or if you're not planning to buy it. And we've got quite a lot of votes here, 419 votes. It seems that people are saying yes, they like it at 42%, they don't like it at 11%, and 47% of voters don't plan to buy it. One of the comments here stood out from the rest here, and this is a comment from PorkRosso7885, who is very disappointed with Starfield because the game insists, according to him, that we kill AI characters in order to progress. He likes to do exploring, trading, and do some open world things, and that's actually a very good point. You can't do a pacifist type of gameplay of game run in Starfield. It's not something that you can do if you really don't want to kill anyone in the game. You can't get away with that. There are options to reduce the killing as much as possible, especially toward the end, but overall you are going to have to go through outposts that are defended by pirates. You are going to have to make your way through some raiders and some caves also filled with enemies. There's just no choice. And that's perhaps something that Bethesda should have explored a little bit more. Maybe go on the stealthy side, or maybe more difficult routes that would allow players who, again, are pacifist and they don't want to kill anything to manage to finish the game. But at some point, there are indeed some enemies that defend some critical elements of the story that need to be acquired, and because of that, there's just no way to not kill them. That's what it is. But again, it's true that there are other games that do avoid the killing as much as possible. For example, I think that in Kingdom Come Deliverance, you can finish the entire story with killing only one character in the middle of the game, and that's basically it. If you are really a pacifist, I think there's even an achievement for that. So perhaps that's something that Starfield could have gone for, but it's just not the case. Right, next we'll talk about NPCs, and I've read and seen a lot of videos, read a lot of articles about how boring the NPCs are in Starfield. I'm sorry, that's not true. I think that they are quite exciting. Maybe not the ones in the cities, but definitely the NPCs that you are going to have to fight. They are looking for you actively. They find ways to get to you when you are hiding or when you are on the high ground. Not just the humans, but the little aliens as well. I've died a lot of times actually because I was not careful or I was not paying attention enough to their movement or their strategies. So I think that these are actually some of the best NPCs I have seen or fought in a long time in a video game. So that one here is definitely wrong. Next, we'll talk about fast travel. Now, apparently, some people are complaining that this game is ruined because of fast travel. You just want to go to a place, you click on a few buttons, and boom, you fast travel. This is a choice. This is a convenience. The game never forces you to fast travel. If you want to take the long route, if you want to manually go to your ship, if you want to take off, go to space, and then go wherever you want to go by space and then land again by clicking the button, of course, but still, it's not fast travel. You can choose to do that. You want to go from one point of a city to another without taking the transport. When you go to New Atlantis, for example, you can choose to do that as well. So anyone saying here that you just have to fast travel and that the game is broken because of that, or your experience is ruined because of that, well, nobody forces you to do that. So here I'm going to strongly disagree with that. Next, let's talk about the boring quests and overall boring start. The game is boring, right? And I'm going to also think that this is quite subjective here. I think that it depends really on your expectations, especially when it comes to the start. I know that a lot of people are comparing Starfield with the start of other Bethesda games, like for example Skyrim or Morrowind. It's just not the same type of vibe. It's not as grand as these other games, for sure. There's no big event that's happening at the start, for sure. It's more of an introduction to the life of the game, right? You're just starting as a nobody, as a miner, and then something happens to you eventually. I think that it's just a smooth introduction to how you're going to be playing the game and how you're going to be introduced to what's going on in the game. But yeah, it's not straight in your face, so do not expect the kind of experience at the very beginning that you maybe had in other Bethesda game. Does that make it boring? I suppose that it is subjective. For me, I enjoy it. I enjoy the slow start because I was quite overwhelmed with everything that was going on. I really didn't know what to do. So having everything starting slowly for me really helped me learn the game. But if you are used to RPGs and Bethesda games, perhaps this was something that you may have found boring. So I would say it's subjective here. It depends on your own expectations and your own experience as a gamer. Next, space is useless. I've seen that a lot. Nothing happens in space. I would say that this is actually wrong. Perhaps if you only stick to the main quest, it is true that in the main quest not a lot of things happen in space. There aren't a lot of space battles, just a few with just a few ships, and that's basically it. The most meat that you're going to be getting from space is coming from the secondary quests or the random encounters that you will have. I had actually experienced some space battles with multiple ships, fleets fighting other ships in space. I have experienced that. I have taken part of such battles, but you have to, I would say, find this content by yourself. It's not being fed directly into your mouth. So in this case, I would say that it is wrong. Finally, there is no ground vehicle, and overall traversing planets is a chore. It's actually true here. Especially sometimes you need to travel for a kilometer or kilometer and a half just to achieve fully serving a planet, because you need to find some kind of anomaly or some kind of special feature of a planet that is quite far from your ship. There's no other way. You've got to walk to these places. That is sometimes a little bit annoying, especially if you do that for the 10th or the 20th time. So I wish that there was maybe some kind of hovercraft or something that would allow you to traverse at 2 times the speed of when you are sprinting. That would make things a little bit more enjoyable, while at the same time you could still enjoy traversing a planet, having a look at the beautiful environments that you will be crossing. So I would give the people here who complain about having no ground vehicles a pass. I really hope that this is going to be coming one day for free in the future DLC. I guess that time will tell. So there you have it, guys. These are the main reasons why there is indeed some discontentment regarding Starfield. It is indeed not a perfect game, but in the end what matters is how important those drawbacks are according to your own perception of what makes a game good or not. For me, I still believe that Starfield has a lot more positives than negatives, and you're going to discover all of those in the review that I am writing right now. So make sure to subscribe to the channel to be there when this review is going to come out. It's going to be probably this week, and so we'll weigh in the pros and cons, and overall I think that's a pretty good experience, and I'm going to share my feedback with you guys here. With that comes the end of this video. Let me know in the comment section down below, how do you guys enjoy Starfield? I've seen that already in the poll I made in the community tab, but maybe you have your own opinion that you haven't shared yet. Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you so much to everyone who's been watching there. Thank you so much to all my Patreon and YouTube members who also make this kind of content possible, including Dr. Falbin, Zero Crusher, and Deplorable Infidel. I've been Irad. I'll see you guys in the next one.